Welcome to the Arena Toolbox. I'm Kate Catherall, Senior Partner and Co-founder at Arena, and I'm here to share some guidance on how to write a campaign plan. Before we dig in, I want to start with why having a campaign plan is important. If you're watching this, chances are you're already bought into the idea that writing a plan is valuable. But for those of you who think a plan is a win number scribbled on the back of a napkin, consider this. If you were an entrepreneur starting a company, you wouldn't sit down on day one and just begin calling investors. First, you would do a market analysis and put together a business case. You'd also talk to other experts to ask their advice. You'd poke holes in your plan, polish it, and refine it. The same logic applies here. When you build a campaign, you are essentially launching a startup. You're building an organization from scratch, and you've got to think through goals, org chart, value proposition, and budget. The biggest difference is you have to raise and spend all the money for your startup by election day. Writing a campaign plan will help you to be strategic about how you're going to reach your goals with finite resources in an ambitious timeline. Moreover, it will help you align with your candidate and your team to make sure everyone is using the same playbook. Okay. We've established that writing a plan is important. Now let's get into some best practices for developing this plan. Remember, this document is a work in progress that you will adapt over time as the political climate changes and the campaign progresses. But you need to start with a solid foundation. So find a quiet space, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to write. The first guiding principle of plan writing is to begin at the end. It's election night, the numbers for your district have come in, and your candidate has won. How many votes is that? That's your vote goal or your win number. To begin writing a campaign plan, you first need to estimate your win number. In most cases, that's how many votes it's going to take to get to 50% plus 1. If you need help calculating your win number, check out the snapshot tool in the Arena Toolbox. Once you've determined your vote goal, you'll need to do some backwards mapping to figure out how you'll reach it. By looking at the voting histories, party affiliations, and demographics of voters, we can safely predict that a certain percentage of voters will cast their ballot for our candidate, without a great deal of direct contact from the campaign. Let's say that 44% of people in a district consistently turn out to vote in every election and consistently vote for Democrats. The Democratic campaign's goal would then be to make up that gap of 6% plus 1 in order to get to our win number of 50% plus 1. There are three main ways that campaigns allocate resources to engage voters, make up their vote gap, and reach their vote goal. The first is persuasion. When we talk about persuasion, what we mean is engaging voters who are somewhat likely to turn out and vote, but don't yet know who they'll vote for. They're undecided. Some strategists will also refer to undecided voters as up-for-grabs voters. The second is turnout. When we refer to turnout programs, we're talking about engaging voters who are likely to be supportive of our candidate, but are less likely to turn out to vote. These voters are sometimes referred to as low propensity voters. Maybe they have a spotty vote history or only vote in presidential elections. Our goal is to inspire these voters to turn out and nudge them to the polls. The third way campaigns get to that win number is by registering new voters. Research shows that only a fraction of newly registered voters will actually cast a ballot. So your campaign has to have a plan to bring the voters you register on the journey all the way to the voting booth. Registration is one of the most impactful ways to affect the result of the election early in the cycle, but it isn't a cost-effective approach for every campaign. Some campaigns can get to their win numbers through a mix of persuasion and turnout without doing any voter registration. So quick recap. Campaigns get to their win number through a mix of persuasion, turnout, and registration. How many people you need to persuade, turn out, and register will vary depending on the electorate in your district or state. The foundation of your campaign plan needs to determine the following. 1, your pathway to victory. How many people fall into each of those buckets? Persuasion, turnout, and registration. 2, your targets, who those voters are. 3, your tactics, how you're going to reach them. 4, your message, how you're going to engage voters, build a relationship with them, and ultimately move them to action. And 5, your budget, how you will allocate resources over time. All of these components intersect when you're developing your programs. For example, if you want to persuade more Latinx women to vote for your candidate, you should consider which modes of contact are most effective to reach that particular population. Facebook ads, phone calls, text messages, radio, television, canvassing. You should also consider which issues are most important and what messages are most compelling for these women. And you need to think about how you're going to allocate resources for bilingual media and materials. As you can see, your campaign plan interacts with several important tools: your message, your win number, and your budget. You can find resources in the Arena Toolbox to help you with each of these components. But don't freak out. You don't have to do all of this at once. Start with your win number and begin building out your campaign plan one step at a time. This campaign plan writing guide provides you with a checklist of questions to answer in chronological order. It may seem like a lot to work through right now, but I promise that your campaign will be more prepared and more agile as a result of going through this process. Finally, remember that everything your campaign does is about building relationships and garnering the trust of voters. On election day, voters will cast their ballots for the candidate they trust over the candidate with whom they agree on every issue. As you pore over data, build out your programs, establish metrics, set goals, and develop your messages, don't forget that winning campaigns take a relational approach. They make it personal. So, to recap, when you're writing your campaign plan, 1, start at the end. Know your win number. 2, define who you are going to persuade, turn out, and register. 3, describe in detail how you're going to reach your voters. What tactics and messages will you use to engage them and build relationships? How will you build an organization to go about that work? And 4, try not to get overwhelmed. This is a living document that can and should grow and change with the political climate. Good luck.